schedule was released. It's a brutal beginning to it, and it's a pretty tough schedule without question. Win totals for the Browns set by the sports books 4.5, 5.5. Do you think that's a little low?
I think it's about right. I mean, you're coming off a 3-win season. You have, I think the quarterback I think the quarterback questions obviously, loom large over it. The offensive questions in general loom large over it. I mean, if you get healthy you get a healthy offensive line this year, that offensive line could be pretty good because of Joel and Wyatt and Jack specifically, DeLon. There's talent there, but if you continue to get the offensive line injuries, there's just so many questions. Even on defense, yeah, you have Miles Garrett, Denzel Ward, but you just have JOK is not going to play. So I understand it, and then you throw in the opponents, the NFC North and the AFC North. That accounts for let's see, six. That accounts for 10. That's 10 opponents on that schedule. That's those are arguably the two best divisions in football, and then you throw the Bills in and games like that. It's just that's a tough schedule, and with all the questions, I think 4.5 is fair.
That's fair. What about so last year was a disappointment without question. But when you look at this defense, I I can see it being top 10, top 5. That 2 years ago they were really good, and I would argue last year they kind of got hurt by really, really bad quarterback play. They were on the field too much.
No, that's absolutely true. I mean, let's think back to last October, and they hold the Eagles to what, 20 points, something like that, 21.
Yeah,
I can't remember the. I mean, they should have, if they get any sort of competent quarterback play, competent offensive play that game, they probably win it because of the way the defense performed against the Eagles. And that's the team that went on to win the Super Bowl. So, the Bengals the following week, it wasn't the defense. It wasn't like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase lit them up. The defense played well. But the problem is there's just so many questions right now with this defense. Who becomes the I mean, can Mason Graham step in immediately as a rookie and line up next to Miles Garrett and provide some help, provide some push, in the middle of that that defensive line. What are they going to do at safety beyond Grant Delpit? I mean, I know they've signed a couple of veterans, and they have Ronnie Hickman, but there's still a lot of questions outside of in the secondary outside of Denzel Ward. You have Denzel, who's coming off, I thought, his best year all around as a corner in the NFL. But Martin Emerson and Greg both, I would argue, said didn't have nearly the years that some people expected either of them to have. So there's just so many questions at each level that it's understandable if you just sort of you're sort of a doubting Thomas coming into the season about that. That said, there's absolutely talent and potential on there. With even with amongst the rookies, Carson Schweisinger, you know, everything you hear, if he's what as advertised, that's a heck of a football player you have there. So, I think I absolutely think there's reason to believe in the defense, but I understand the reason to sort of kind of hold back on, going all in on that defense, in mid to late May.